Nonprofit Hero Factory, a weekly live video broadcast and podcast where we'll be helping nonprofit leaders and innovators create more heroes for their cause and a better world for all of us. Da-ding.
I just love hearing that da-ding. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 3 of the Nonprofit Hero Factory. This week I'm going to be talking to my good friend Mike Ruman about how to attract and convert traffic for your cause. I'm your host. My name is Boris Kievsky. I am the chief storyteller and nerd for good at dotOrgStrategy. I'm excited to bring the show to you every week where we're going to be talking to different experts about how to help your nonprofit grow its base of heroes, right? Create more heroes for your cause, ultimately, so you could raise more money, you could have a greater impact on the world and really make the world a better place for all of us. I, for one, appreciate everything that you do, as I'm sure most people out there do, whether they are actively supporting you or not. So if they're not yet, let's try to figure out ways to get them into your funnel, into your start walking up your ladder of engagement and support. And with that, let's bring in Mike Ruman, who is going to talk to us today about how he does it for many churches and other nonprofits that he works with. Mike is the founder of ReachTheLost.com. He helps churches and nonprofits establish a home base and grow it. He spent over 10 years working in publishing, helping authors and nonprofits create and market their content. He lives in Colorado, spends his free time on the trails of the Rocky Mountains, and is an all-around swell guy. Hey, Mike, come on in.
What up, Boris?
How's it going? Oh, you got punched for a second there by that little girl, but she moved out of the way. She's very nice like that.
Right.
So, Mike, you and I have known each other for a few years now, let's just say. You still have more hair than I do, so you're still ahead of the game. But you've done a lot of things in the time that we've known each other, most of them all of them in the space of online marketing and online content. And I know you've been working with nonprofits the entire time, but recently you really started to focus on nonprofits with Reach the Lost. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, first, I need to ask you about that intro. What is that ba-ding at the end? That is so sweet.
So my middle child, whom I asked to record that intro, thought that it would be cute to have a ba-ding on there. I had some music initially, not music that we wound up using. And she wanted that sparkle like on a toothpaste commercial at the end. Ding! So that was her version of it, and I thought it was so hilarious.
I love it. Yeah,
makes me smile every time we start the show.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for having me on. So my background is I spent 10 years in publishing, and our publisher we were a nonprofit. Then I went to a large nonprofit, and then 6 years ago I jumped to start my own company. And I work with a lot of nonprofits, a lot of churches, all over the gambit. I have a magician client to a CrossFit gym, to a mom's ministry. And what I found is that there's some pretty universal strategies that any nonprofit can bring in to grow their donor base, to give back to their donor base, to give to their members. And so, yeah, I'm happy to come on here and share that with you today.
Awesome. Yeah, you said that your nonprofit superpower is to get and convert traffic. And I watched your intro video. We're going to link to that later on in the show and in the show notes. Everybody could find it. I hope they do. But I watched the video, which was awesome. And you talk about felt needs and felt need funnels with Reach the Lost. Tell me first of all, I guess, what's different right now that churches are going through? Why is Reach the Lost the right solution these days? What's going on in the world that you're thinking this is the approach people need to take?
Yeah, good question. So working with churches the last 15 years, what I found is churches need to provide a function to help society. And we would do church SEO, and we would try to rank for like churches near me, Christian churches, kind of like those really basic like church terms. And what you get are a lot of like church hoppers. Someone gets offended at what a pastor says, and so I'm going to go find the next church. And those searches are great. Maybe people new to the area, they're searching online, and we still want to get those, but really, like, if the church can be the church, what we want to do is we want to help society. And so reach the lost, like Jesus has a verse about he came to seek and save the lost. So who is the lost? Like, we all are. I'm not sure if you've heard about Celebrate Recovery. It's kind of the AA for the Christian space, but in that program, he talks about everybody has a hurt, a habit, or a hang up. And so everybody has something that needs help. My guess is if you and I turned the camera off and I said, hey, what's one good thing and one bad thing? Like, your bad thing would be like something that needs help. And so why shouldn't the church help? And so reach the lost, what we do is we identify. So when I go into a church, let's say it's a nonprofit as well, and say, what do you guys do? Like, what value do you add to the community? And so maybe it's hypothetically, let's say it's a pet rescue. So like, what do you guys do to the community? And then what we do is we tie into Google. So I know you mentioned you're the chief nerd.
Chief storyteller and nerd for good.
Nerd for good. I love that. So I'm a data geek. So it's kind of how I pitch myself, and I go into Google and I look at what are people searching for, because 90% of Google searches are questions looking for answers, and we try and position that church or that ministry or that nonprofit as the answer. So if it's a pet rescue, we want to go out there and like answer pet related questions. And then that's how you provide value. And I think we've all heard of Gary V's give, ask, or right, was it what?
Jab, right hook.
Yeah, jab, hook. But the idea is like give, and then ask. And so we follow that model, and Reach the Lost is very targeted to churches. And so I'll go into a church and say, okay, what programs do you have? And a lot of churches, it's cool because they're spinning up like counseling centers, because like there's needs. I'm not sure if you've seen the data, but like depression, anxiety, suicide, all these search terms are on the rise. And it's not just because people are going to Google, like clinically depressed, like this is even before COVID, like those numbers are through the roof. And so our whole mission is to intercept the searches and get people help, get people hope. And to me, I believe that the local church is the hope of the world. Like that's where people can find help, hope. And so we want to connect them to that ministry, to that program. But it might be like, well, I guess I might go a little bit too deep, but I kind of have a good like funnel. I can kind of show you how we do this with churches that other nonprofits can steal and use for them as well.
Yeah, no, I'd love to get into that funnel, and I even just want to break down what you were just talking about, because it's critical, and it's something that I, pardon the pun, preach to all of my clients too, which is basically you need to start by identifying the value you provide. It could be your unique value proposition. It could be an aspect of your mission, but too many nonprofits, and I don't know nearly as much about churches and how they function as you do. So it's interesting to me to hear that it's exact same issues. Too many nonprofits kind of sit back and say, well, we do this, everyone should just come to us, rather than saying, hey, here's the value we provide. Here's how we could be of service to you right now and solve your pain points, right? In every avatar that we all create, there's pain points and there's solutions. And the two, I'm shocked how often, and look, they're not marketing professionals, but how often I'll have a client fill out a avatar, and the pain points will be kind of general, but the solutions, more importantly, don't solve the pain points directly. Or they'll also be general. Well, this is what we do. Well, what is that particular person, that avatar, experiencing right now that you're going to help them address? And it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing. And then finding ways to drive Google ad traffic, if I'm understanding correctly, to helping people solve those problems, right?
Yeah. So I had a hashtag shower thought this morning. So I was thinking about you in the shower there, and what we're going to talk about today. And I thought about NPAAS, nonprofits as a service. And so we've heard of software as a service, website as a service. but I would love for nonprofits to think of nonprofit as a service, because that's kind of the new model. Like one of the nonprofits I worked at, like this model is going away, but we had a project that was $5 million that needed funding. And I'm like, man, there's no way we're going to find $5 million. One of the guys in the company hopped on a plane, went to this town in Texas that had, struck oil, came back with $5 million and like funded it. Like, I don't see that happening like ever, like again. Like that model is going away, especially as like, donations and donors are going down. But this idea of nonprofit as a service, I think, is just getting started. So a few of my clients are ministries, nonprofits, in their membership sites. And so this is where you have to be a little bit tricky, or talk with a lawyer. But like with your donation, like I love Kevin Kelly has the power of 1,000 true fans. Like imagine if you're a pet rescue and you said, hey, we're really going to focus on, I have a golden doodle. I know you just got a dog recently here.
Golden doodle.
Yeah. So we're like, me and you are going to start a golden doodle rescue. And we want it to be a nonprofit. Like we care about golden doodles. We want to see them like thrive, whatever. And so what I would do is not say, hey, donate to the golden doodle rescue. I would create content for golden doodle owners or golden doodle fans and say, hey, for $100, you get this, you get to be a part of the golden doodle rescue team. And we have to address as nonprofits what's in it for them.
Yeah. The
idea of like, hey, send me a $25 recurring donation without giving the donor anything back. Like, I think that's done. And so, hey, for your $100 a year donation, we're going to give you a bumper sticker that you can put on the back of your car that says, I love golden doodles, or I rescue golden doodles. Something to make them, we talk about the hero. Like, how do we make that donor the hero? Like, actually, on the way into my office today, I was behind a guy who had my kid beat up your honor student. Like, bumper stickers tell us a lot about people.
Yep.
So, hey, with your $100, like maybe we say 20 of that, we're going to build a cool donor kit for this. For the donor, it's going to have the bumper sticker, how to care for your golden doodle. There's going to be videos online of like golden doodle care, but that kind of, and courses and membership sites, they're just blowing up everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's billions of dollars a year are spent on courses. And so why can't your nonprofit, if we're that golden doodle rescue, write articles about what to feed a golden doodle, how to train a golden doodle, and really treat that nonprofit as a service.
I love that. I mean, we've talked a lot over the years, you and I, about earned revenue for nonprofits in general. I think there's a couple of things though that I want to unpack from what you just said again. The first is, I think most nonprofits think of themselves as a service organization, but they don't necessarily think of themselves as, a nonprofit as a service, where they need to be constantly providing value. And that's, of course, something we always talk about, whether it be providing value in terms of content or in terms of actual work in the world, or physical or software, whatever it might be, value that the donor is getting. One of the values, though, and I kind of want to maybe tease this out a little bit, because one of the things is that donors get a lot of emotional value and a lot of ego value, if you will, from supporting a nonprofit. Right? There's a story that we all tell ourselves about ourselves, and that we tell the world about ourselves, whether we're sharing content on Facebook or actually talking to someone at a party or on a Zoom session these days. Right? And who we support and what we choose to devote our time and our money to, right? Our resources, our voice, one of the most important resources too, that says a lot about us. So the biggest thing I think that nonprofits offer people is offer their donors, their supporters, is not even tangible. There's actually some studies that showed that when you're doing a crowdfunding campaign, for example, offering people like something that looks like a Kickstarter thing, where if you donate this much, we'll give you this much, has actually decreased donations, because people feel it's too transactional. And
Yeah.
with a nonprofit, they want to feel good rather than feel transactional, like they're buying something off of Amazon. But at the same time, people love feeling a value for money. So there's different ways to show ROI. But I do think, and I'm going to come back to supporting you on this whole bumper sticker thing, whether it's a bumper sticker or something else. People love to feel gratitude. So if someone does donate to your organization and you don't promise them anything, you don't say, for your donation, we're going to send you a tote bag. I don't know how many people still need a tote bag these days, but you do send them something small, something just hopefully even personalized that makes them feel special. And sometimes these could be digital things, but a physical thing I think is great to put into their space and to help them identify. Not to ramble on too long, but it reminds me of Robert Cialdini and in the book Influence, he talks about people who first identified themselves with a small sign in their window as caring about something, later allowed someone to come back and put a giant billboard in their front yard, versus the people who they didn't ask to put something small in their window first. It was a much greater percentage that then let them put up billboards. So it's that self-identity thing, right? Even if it's what do you call those Facebook frames these days that people are using, right? Help me identify as a supporter to the world, and you're going to reinforce my desire to keep supporting you, to keep what is it? It's congruence, right? Congruence with my own self-identity, right?
Yep. Yeah, I have one client. They're a nonprofit, and they're looking at donations, a donation program, and they even it's called Pathfinders. And when you donate, I think it's really any amount, any recurrent amount, you're part of the Pathfinders. And what's cool is like you belong. Like we believe in what you're doing, but then like as a Pathfinder, you're in the inner circle. And
Right.
even the president, he sends out a Pathfinders like, hey, here's behind the scenes, here's what's happening, and you feel like you're part of something bigger than just writing a check each month. And yeah, even like I mean, the bumper sticker is cool. Like you can do something like that, but even digitally, it's crazy. Like we'll give like iPhones, wallpapers, coloring pages, just simple things that just give back to those. I mean, I want to say donors, but I want to say like supporters or members, that community of people who care about that mission, and also using that term of we, like, hey, we're in this together. You're part of us. This is not a you fund us, we do the cool stuff. Like you're in this with us as well.
Exactly. The donor, the supporter, that's the hero. The nonprofit is basically the guide or the enabler, the power up tool that really lets as a supporter become the hero in the world, right?
Yeah. So can I talk to you about you mentioned the Google ads? Can I tell you the secret that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So here's the cool thing, and this is kind of why we started Reach the Lost. So Google has the Google Ad Grant, which a lot of people know of, but a lot of people don't. But Google gives any nonprofit that has a 501c3 $10,000 per month of free Google ads.
Yep.
And those, a lot of people have them, but they're shut down because they went out of compliance, or they were using it to like send people to a donation page. Like you can't do that. You have to go solve problems with that money, provide resources. And so we do branded campaigns, which are kind of Captain Obvious stuff, like people looking for whatever. But like using that Google grant to answer those questions that people are asking on Google, what brands of, how should I train my dog to sit or whatever? Like, why not provide value? And this is kind of where we have that felt need funnel. I'll do a church. So let's say we had a marriage event happening. Like I would not run Google ads and Google grant ads to, hey, come to this marriage event. It's kind of like the dating approach where you're asking people to like get married on the first step. Like what we do is we say, people are searching for date night ideas. And so we'll give you 10 date night ideas on a budget in your city. And so people searching for date night ideas, they get this date night ideas, they download it, free content, brought to you by XYZ Church. and then they download the date night ideas, and then we want to give them again. So they hop into an email drip. Email number 2 is, here's some date night conversation starters. So
I just want to clarify, we're talking marriage events. For those of us that don't attend these things on a regular basis, this is already for married couples? Or
yeah,
is this people looking to get married?
this is an actual funnel we did in the fall. This was for engaged, and really we targeted like newly married couples.
Okay. So it's date night ideas for couples, for people who are either newly married or recently married or about to get married, right? Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that it's not like for single people.
No, like I have the funnel here, but we start with that avatar. So who do we want to reach? What do we want them to eventually do? We want them to come to this marriage event over here. And so they download the date night ideas, and then they download the conversation starters. Then email number 3 is going to be kind of who we are, and then we're going to invite them to this marriage event. And the beautiful thing about this is you have $10,000 per month with that Google ad grant to like give. I think we had maybe like a 15% conversion, like come to the marriage event.
Wow.
What's cool is like, even if they didn't, like you're making the community better by giving them like good content and like conversation starters. Like I think we've all kind of lost the art of conversation. Hey, here's some questions to like ask on your date to kind of go a little bit deeper. And so with churches, like, we're providing value, and it's like, hey, this was brought to you by XYZ church. Like, we may not say like, make sure you come this weekend, but like we'll invite them. Like, hey, if you ever want to talk to a pastor, like we're here. But then we'll bounce out. And so I think with like influence, he talks about the law of reciprocity. Like there's when you give someone something, there's this like universal law they want to give back. Yeah. And it could even be like an emotional, like, man, that church that did that was like really cool. Or that nonprofit who gave us that, those pet training tips, like that was really cool. They may never become a supporter or a member, but you give. And I think as humans, like we're making the world a little bit better place by just giving. Yeah. But eventually they're going to come into our funnel like, hey, who is this Golden Doodle Rescue? Hey, it's Boris and Mike, and we love Golden Doodles. We're very manly men who love our Golden Doodles. And just that whole model, solving their problems, getting them into your funnel, and then there could be a membership site, there could be courses, and at the end of that funnel.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize, and you're talking directly to this, that Google exists to answer questions, right? Whether somebody knows it or not, when they type a search term into Google, they've got a question in their minds. The better Google can answer that question, the more likely people are going to come back to Google to look for those things again versus asking their voice assistant or just asking their neighbor. Especially with ads and nonprofit ads, specifically on the Google Ads grant, your answer has to be totally relevant to the question that they're asking. It has to show value somehow, and Google does all kinds of tricks to verify this stuff. So the more value you can provide, the better. It's also a branding play in a couple of ways, right? So the way I talk about brand is it's the story that people tell about you, right? It's the association they have, whether it's with your logo or your name. So the Church of the Golden Labradoodle, when somebody says that, just to combine all our themes here, when somebody says that, what do you think of? If that church has provided me with value, then I'm going to say, oh, that's the church that gave me this. It's a positive association. The more of those associations build up over time, the more likely I am to just have a desire to give to the organization and also to share it with others, right? Because if someone else is looking for help with their Golden Doodle, then I'm going to say, oh, you know what's a great organization? Yeah, I haven't attended their events, but I love the stuff they've been sending me. I'm sure this event would be great for you too. Let me pass that along, right?
Yeah, this is so I do a daily Bible reading, and I use this. They're called the Bible Recap, and they just every day they give me like a 5 to 10 minute podcast, like breaking down today's reading, giving it context. And we're at what May? We're in May. I've been listening to them since January 1st. It wasn't until last month that I started giving, because it was like, man, they gave me like 90 days of like amazing content. I felt a little guilt. Like they ask for like $7 a month. Like I can do that. Like one, to get rid of this guilt, but two, like if I would have tried to buy the same thing they gave me, like I'd have probably paid 50, $100 for the same type of content that they're just giving away for free. And that's where sometimes these donor cycles are not like 7 days sign up donors. Like for them, it was probably 120 before I became a monthly recurring donor. And what that did is that unlocked show transcripts. Like now, if I want to go read like what she said in the podcast, but they started with, here's amazing free content, but they also care. Like they have a heart to help people like learn the Bible, read the Bible. And like, I get it. Like I love their heart. It comes through everything they do, every email, every episode. And they got me in for $7 a month. I don't really care about the show transcriptions, but there's like, that's cool. I have these things. And we know there's tools out there for, was it 10 cents a minute? You can get your stuff transcribed. Like it wasn't hard for them, but it provided value to me. And I'm kind of like looking like, cool, like this stuff's amazing. What else do they have that? And they have like in-person like discipleship groups. But yeah, that whole model I think is the NPAAS, nonprofit as a service. Like to me, that's the future. And why not? Like you have this nonprofit of people who care about this one particular topic. Like turn your camera on, record something, like write blog posts. Like you started a nonprofit for this mission. Like get after it.
I think a lot of nonprofits feel like it's hard to compete with all the noise, right? I mean, that's one of the things that I focus on is how to help them break through all the noise that's out there. And there's probably 1,000 bloggers talking about golden doodles every single day. So how does a nonprofit stand out? It can be a little intimidating, but there are definitely strategies to do that. And the Google Ads grant is one of those, right? You could run basically no cost to you ads as long as they're well done. But also, when you were talking about the length of time that it took, the 90 days or something that they were providing you with value before you felt guilty to enough to give to them, or just you felt that need to reciprocate, right? In the for-profit world, of course, there's especially in SaaS companies, there's the customer acquisition cost, right? When Amazon first started, I think they were giving free, $50 free or something, $20 free. When Uber first started, it was, get your first ride free, get $10 off, $20 off, whatever it was. And that's all factored into their customer acquisition cost. They know that in the long run, they're going to make it back. Yeah. So with nonprofits, giving value like that over the course of a long period of time, and it doesn't cost them much to do it. I mean, the ads grant is free, although it'll take some resources to administer it. It'll take a little time and resources to create some of these downloadable guides or whatever it might be. But it's not expensive ultimately. If you factor that in to your customer acquisition cost, in the long run, you should be checking, of course, your ROI, your return on investment, but it's going to pay off in spades.
Yeah. Yeah. Like very practical. Like if you're watching this right now, like go to answerthepublic.com, type in your topic, and they'll give you all the questions being asked in that topic. But look at they'll give you the who, what, when, where, why, and how. Look at the how and the what, and just answer some of those with 600-word blog post. And then if you get that grant, like man, run traffic to that. Like the cost, the acquisition cost, when you have $10,000 of free money per month, like that acquisition cost can go way, way, way down. And you mentioned that other people, competing with other people out there, like. There are restrictions with the grant, like you have to be able to convert. But if you do like one funnel well and just like hammer that funnel, like you could just crush your niche, getting people into your nonprofit.
Answerthepublic.com.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll definitely add that to the show notes. People go check that out. I actually didn't know that one. I use some SEO tools to research what people are asking around a particular topic, and all it does is basically say you take your term and then it tries to find matching terms with the word how or what or why or where beforehand to see what Google auto completes, right?
Yeah.
And
Same
those suggestions.
Yeah, I also kind of like another step is adding kwfinder.com. You get 3 free searches per day. And so I like to use that to see how many people are searching for this topic. If you just do 3 a day, then you can like have someone else do three that same day. But just making sure that enough people are asking that question, that it's something worth solving. I see so many like YouTube videos done, blog posts done, answering questions that nobody's asking. And it's like, man, you just wasted a lot of time like that you could have spent on this question that's being asked all the time, every month, over and over. So use data to like make sure that you're answering the right questions.
It's not all about you as the organization. It's about the people that you're trying to serve and help. Absolutely. Mike, man, we are over time here. It's been an awesome conversation. I'm going to definitely have to have you back real soon. You've always got amazing things to share. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on today. We're going to have in the show notes all of the stuff that we talked about today. Plus, Mike has shared with us a video on exactly how all this works for Reach the Lost. That it breaks down his process that really anybody could duplicate themselves if they have the time and resources, and if not, they should hire Mike to do it for them. So that's definitely going to be in our show notes, as well as the full transcript of this, which we do use one of those transcript services to put together. So sorry in advance for the typos or the what do you call it in music? There's mondegreens. I think that entered the dictionary a couple of years ago, where when the singer is singing one thing but you hear something else. I think transcript services are great for those. Any last words you want to share with the folks here, Mike?
No, I just like I love nonprofits. I have secular clients. Like we do, it's sales funnels. Like think think a sales funnel, but you're for your nonprofit, and just serve that category, serve that niche. But also, like as a nonprofit, you have access to stuff that a lawn care company doesn't. And so make sure, I mean, I know you have a ton of like resources, but yeah, reach out if you have any questions of where do I even go to get started? This process is super simple. There's no like secret algorithm. It's like, just do step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and like rinse and repeat.
There you go. Well, I don't know about the rinse and repeat part, but that was, for those of you listening to the audio, that was me looking at my bald head and saying rinse and repeat does not always apply. But all right, with that, it's as good a time as any to wrap this up. Mike's contact info and all the links, like I said, are going to be in the show notes. Thanks everybody for joining us, tuning in, listening in, however you're doing what you're doing. And thank you for what you're doing to make the world a better place. As always, I'm your host, Boris, and we'll see you next week with some more conversations with awesome nonprofit leaders.
Ding, ding. All right, thanks.